Welcome to Second Sunday. This is a live transmission of the energy of the collective that I do every month. My name is Jessica Alstrom. I am the owner of Transcendence Wellness Center and the creator of Transcendence International Consciousness Academy. And I also have a global coaching forum on Facebook called Quantum Life. So if anything that I say today resonates with you, jump on over to our live community, which is completely free and open and accessible for you to be able to kind of follow the work that we're doing here at Transcendence and Quantum Life. And we will get into the message. So October is a little bit of a breather, but I wanted to kind of recap a little bit. September was a boiling point, and I'm sure that most of you can relate. There was a lot of heightened everything in September. And as I kind of go back a little bit throughout the year, hopefully this will start to make sense, because the state of the world right now is complete chaos. And without chaos, you know, we cannot really understand the confusion that has been sitting in our energy fields for as long as we know. And everything that's happening right now is just a byproduct of what is coming to light. And things need to come to light in order for us to really take responsibility for who we are becoming. You know, if you ever thought when you were a child that you wanted to be a superhero, then you were probably an empath in disguise. You were a messenger. You were a light worker. You are a way shower. You're a sheep herder. And if you ever had that feeling that you just wanted to help people, it's time for you to answer that call, because the world needs heroes right now, doesn't it? The way the world is unfolding is it's showing us how much we need to learn to rely on ourselves and each other versus any sort of governorship that has had our best interest in mind. Right now, the world is unfolding, and it's bringing all of the shadow into the light. And as the world begins to purify itself, you really want to look at the last few months as the process of distilling water. So when you take dirty water that has good and bad minerals and toxins, and you boil it to a boiling point and you create this distillation property, it becomes very pure. It also becomes very lacking in things, which is what we are going through as a collective, is we are literally shedding and purging all of who we've been. And the things that we've held dear to us over our lifetime are quickly being removed if there is a codependency attached to it. Look back over the last year and notice how many things that you've just been naturally codependent on your entire life have either been taken from you, you've walked away willingly, or you're ready to be over that experience. Because as we move into a unity concept, a unity oneness, a unity new earth, we cannot have the codependencies of the ego form, which means the false securities of money, the corporate job, the conditional family, the relationships that are about painful experiences, abuse, shame, narcissism, contraction. And these are things, believe it or not, that we have been very codependent on as a collective. And what we're realizing first and foremost is the planet is changing. She's changing in front of our eyes. She is having her weather, and weather is a byproduct of emotion. So the micro of the macro is all an experience that we have. We are the emotional body, and the weather that Gaia and Mother Earth produces is the emotional body of her experience here. And we have noticed that all throughout the world there is some crazy weather. There's some storms, there's some hurricanes, there's some earthquakes, there's fires, there's destruction. And if you understand the birth process, everything has to first be destroyed to be rebirthed. And so as we move into a higher frequency planet, which the planet can sustain more light, is becoming more light, our physical bodies are going through that same transformation. We're going through a transformation of basically moving from density to light. And it hasn't been easy. If you are a person who is just beginning your awakening journey, you will notice that your outside experiences have been extremely chaotic. If you are on your journey and you are considering yourself aware, awake, then what you're noticing is the storms have mostly been within. Because your level of awareness is always dictated to what you can be responsible for. And when we cannot be responsible for the energy inside of us, we always look to the outside for that reflection. And as we look for that outside reflection, we judge who we are based on what we're seeing. So you, your higher self, your ego component of who you are, is going through its own unique expression of your purging, of your letting go, of your moving out of false securities, and you are becoming this new version of yourself that you've always dreamed of being. It's not a comfortable process. If you are a part of my global coaching forum, I've been discussing week after week after week after week this purging cycle. We've been studying quantum entanglement. We have been doing pattern release processing to release old programs that are running at subconscious that are basically willing you into unnecessary behavior for where you're going. And we are doing a lot of inner child healing because, believe it or not, any sort of expectation or PTSD or unresolved conflict that is in your subconscious mind is very, very, very substantially active in your now moment. Everything that is happening in your now moment is a byproduct of who you believe you are. And everything that you're witnessing and then how you're judging what you're witnessing is also a reflection of who you believe you are. Is the world scary to you right now, or is it exciting? Do you see the unfolding and the purging and the detoxification of planet Earth as something that you have been waiting for, or does it feel like your world is imploding? This will allow you to understand where you are as far as your paradigm shift. All of us will have to make a choice at some point. Are we ready to live an expanded, unity, love-based civilization, or are we needing to go back and fight the good fight and, worry about, power versus love and who's right and who's wrong and, what laws should be passed for this and, the state of the world as far as third-dimensional logic versus the imagination piece of who you've always been in your heart since you were a little child. These are going to be choices that you're going to need to make in the coming months. October gives you a little bit of a rest point. It's harvest. It is, let's take stock. Let's take the stock of where we've been and what we've accomplished, what we've had to let go, and what has been birthed and what has basically grown to the surface from all of these catalysts, all of this pain, all of this suffering, because we know that as stubborn as we are collectively, being both shadow and light, that our greatest moving forward of any sort of momentum in our spiritual journey or evolution process has been through suffering and pain. Look at your last relationship, look at your last job, look at the state of your body, look at your mindset, look at your thought process, look at the people you call friends. Who has shown up for you this year to show you exactly where your pain is? What has been a catalyst for you? So in October, what we do is we take stock. We look at everything that we have become and we look at everything that we have unbecome. And one of the things that we talked about in class on Thursday night was a very specific word that came to mind. And with, the shootings in Las Vegas, and regardless of what you believe about the unfolding of that event, it really doesn't matter. Because the word that I kept hearing all over Facebook, all over the community, all over collective in an unconscious meditative state was the word justice. And when we look at that word justice, people are wanting justice. People are wanting to pass laws so that they can feel safe. People are wanting someone to stand up and be responsible for this. People are wanting someone to keep them safe. Well, as we look at that word metaphysically, justice is just us. We just have us. We are the ones who are going to correct the wrongs and see things differently. We're going to look at a shooter or shooters, depending on how you look at the scenario, and we're going to say that person is having a tantrum and needs to be loved, versus we need to pass more laws to keep people contained in a world where they need to feel fear in order to exist. We're going through a huge transformation process, and every moment is a choice of how do I look at what's unfolding? Do I look at this as a unfolding process of the world is basically being destroyed, or do I look at this as the world is being rebirthed? And what is going to be my part? As a light worker myself, as a messenger, Since I was a little tiny girl, I have been very, very empathetic. I'm an empath. I feel deeply, probably like everyone who can hear my message. And as someone who can feel very deeply, this place has not always felt safe. This world has been scary. People have been scary. You know, we find our refuge in animals and nature and music and water, and we find each other that speak the language of the empath and understand what it feels like to not necessarily automatically judge, or to not understand cruelty, or not go with the status quo as far as what is acceptable as far as the meaning of love. We've always had this inside of us, and we have been holding space for the planet for a really, really long time until we got to this shifting point. And I will tell you that every national devastation, disaster, outbreak, shooting, flood, tornado, hurricane creates a shift in light, because what it does is it births new empaths. It births new people who want to help. It bursts the heart chakra opening, and people looking at families losing their homes and their lives, and they want to do something about it. When maybe 2 weeks ago, they couldn't even find gratitude for the roof over their head. We need the empaths to be reborn, because we've been holding this space for a really long time. And as every single devastational fact happens and unfolds, new empaths come to the surface, because the awakening has been underway for a really, really long time. And we know that basically the end of September, the 23rd of September, 2017, the grand light switch got flicked on and the world is waking up. So what did it take you to wake up? Did it take losing someone? Did it take getting ill? Did it take you just getting sick and tired of your life the way it was, and you started to ask deep questions about who you are and what you really wanted? What did it take you? And in that understanding, you may be able to understand what it's going to take for this planet to wake up. I wish that I could say it's going to be heaven on earth tomorrow, but we actually have to create that through looking at our world through different eyes and making different choices. We have to start showing up as the hero instead of being afraid of feeling everything so deeply. We have to look at everything quantumly and not spiritually. The spiritual journey is something that you use to crawl out of hell, but the spiritual journey is not who you are. You are the quantum field of possibilities. You are the universe. You are God incarnated in human form. You are both dark and light, and you can use both of those aspects of yourself to be of service right now. And when you look at your harvest of what you've lost and what you've gained this year, what you'll notice is that the only way to self-love is the route of the broken heart. This is something that I've really been working on a lot personally this year, and I would say that in 2017, my heart has broken more times than my entire lifetime put together. And what I realized with every heartbreak and every letdown and every unrequited experience and love that I pushed for that I didn't get returned, and friends that I've lost and things that I've lost, what I've realized is that every time my heart breaks, it gets stronger towards myself, which means that as someone abandons me or leaves me, or a false security is taken from me, or a codependency is removed, what I realize is that I'm standing there in the mirror saying, well, I love you, and I'm here for you. And if that's what it takes, then I'm so grateful for the experience in the year that I've had personally, because I would not have got to this point of thinking that love was really about how I see myself in the world as who I really am, not who I am in a relationship, or who I am with money in the bank, or who I am with the health of my body, or the way that I deal with time, or what I define as success, or how great of a parent I am. Love has only to do with how much I can survive my own pain and suffering. And it is all about understanding that it is really just us. Just us is actually going to be what heals the world and moves us into that place where we can have unconditional relationships. Unconditional, without conditions. Meaning there is no wrong and right, there is just acceptance. And when you understand acceptance, you understand that the first idea of acceptance is looking at something and being completely without judgment of. Completely without judgment. So if it's really just us, and we have this bounty and this harvest in front of us, and we know what is the rest of this year is going to basically be an integration of you becoming self-love. You becoming self-love. And how you get there, it really doesn't matter, because your life will unfold perfectly and divinely for your level of awareness. Again, your level of awareness will dictate your ascension process. And as you become more aware of who you are as the universe, your world will begin to get easier no matter what is going on outside of you. No matter what devastation, crisis, loss, judgment, you will always be in that state of knowing exactly who you are, and that's a level of confidence that is seen and wanted by everyone. Confidence is what's going to be birthed from you losing what you've lost, not the other way around. You're not getting smaller, you're getting bigger. You're becoming more light. And all of your shadows have come to the surface and will continue to come to the surface only to show you where you have not loved yourself, where you have needed someone to fill that void, or needed the government to take care of you, or whatever. You're realizing that you don't want anyone governing your reality. You don't want your spouse telling you what you want to do, or where you have to work, or how you pay your bills, or how you spend your money, or what kind of food you eat. You want to be in charge of that, and that is the one gift that September has given you. It's a shift, and I know that every single person that can hear my voice has felt that shift in September, that they are saying, it's time for me to be happy. It's time for me to let go of the things that are no longer serving me, because if anything this year has proved to me is how strong I am, how courageous I've had to be, and how through actually attracting devastation or watching devastation, it does not matter, because believe it or not, as empaths, when you watch devastation, you can have the same level of trauma that it is actually if it occurred in your own reality. So you are going through what the world is growing through, no matter what. And you can't stop it. So the best thing for us to do is look at our harvest. As we move into the coming next 30 days, we will move into a galactic state of gratitude. A gratitude for what we've lived through, what we've created, what we've manifested, good and bad, and that we are starting to realize that we really have created all of this for ourselves to get to know ourselves. Without everything that you've been through, you would not know who you really were underneath all of it. You are not your mother's child. You are not your influence of school. You are not your religion. You are what is underneath that. You are the person looking at that and deciding what they want to be because they've been influenced and they've been programmed. But now you're realizing that you have the greatest freedom of all time, which is called choice. You have a choice right now, and that's what October is bringing into awareness. You have choices. You know you're strong enough to leave. You know you're strong enough to grow, because the world has pushed you into proving that to yourself. You have proved to yourself this year who you are becoming. The world needs heroes. That's why you came. It's time for you to be a hero, first and foremost of your own true self. Get in there, rescue that inner child that's still suffering. Get in there and heal that body. Get in there and be there for yourself, because what you're realizing is that there is no one that's going to love you the way you need to be loved, and there's no one that's actually going to be there for you in the way that you need more than you could ever be there for yourself. And you're learning this through all of your catalyst points this year. And you're realizing that love is so much better than you could have ever imagined. And the reason why is because it's not associated with pain. Love, since we have been birthed on this planet, has always been associated with pain. I love you, which means I could lose you. Every new mother feels that way. We all go through this period of time where we hold our newborn babies, and it's the most emotional experience in the world. And in the same moment, we are terrified of losing what we didn't even know we loved. Same with relationships. Same with something that you finally acquire that you wanted your whole life. And as these shadows are brought to the light and we are clearing them, whether we like it or not, karmically, People are showing up in your life to heal you karmically right now. You know, you think, why do I keep attracting this type of person? Why do I keep attracting this? You're attracting it over and over and over again because it is part of your karmic patterning that you need to start paying attention to. Does this feel good? Is this serving me? Is this expanding my reality? Is this allowing me to be a quantum creator? Is this allowing me to have a full view of myself, or am I giving my power away again? That's all these karmic relationships, these soul contracted characters that keep popping into your reality, that's all they're showing you. Is I'm here again to show you where that shadow still is. And I'm going to push that button until you remember who you are. And I'm going to push that button and I'm going to not love you the way you need to be loved, and I'm not going to be there for you. Or I'm going to be over-exaggerated and I'm going to pull at you and I'm going to be needy at you until you realize that you feel the safest when you're in your own energy field. As you work through quantum entanglement, the beauty of it is you don't have to be part of my academy to be working through quantum entanglement. Your higher self is navigating your spiritual, your quantum journey, regardless if you are working a very 3D job in a very three-dimensional family at a three-dimensional church setting. You're still working through your ascension at your level of awareness, so you cannot get this wrong. The speed in which you do it, because time and space don't actually exist, has only everything to do with your point of awareness. Your point of awareness is going to dictate how quickly you get to know yourself. And if you're like me, you don't like to waste time and you like to attract as many karmic events in a very short time as possible so that you can just get it over with, rip the Band-Aid off. And I know a lot of empaths that had their grand awakening in 2012 and, you know, and on and on and on, are really ready to be on the other side of this idea. We're ready to be on this side where we say, wow, this is what this heaven on earth looks like. Come this way, instead of, I know it's this way, just follow me because I have faith. So it depends on where you are right now. If you're just leading through faith, you're still doing hero work. If you're leading from the other side of the veil and you're saying, I've seen it, I've become it, I am it, let me show you how to be here, you're doing your hero's work. So it really doesn't matter how fast you go or what teachers you follow, because there is a central guidance system deep within you that is navigating you through your darkest nights to get you to the brightest days. Everything that's unfolding is perfect for your awakening ascension process. And as the planet recalibrates and moves into a 5D setting, which is instant manifestation, it's unity in the collective. What would that feel like? What would unity in your collective feel like? Imagine relationships without ego. Imagine love without pain. Imagine abundance that had nothing to do with consuming. Just experiences and love and connection and growth and expansion. All of these things are what basically the unity collective is becoming. And look at what is going right on this planet instead of what is going wrong on this planet. The heroes that are needed, I say it every month, which is pretty much why I do this transmission, is that it does not matter where you are. You are perfect for your part as the hero that you came to play in this now moment. You've always been a rebel. You've always crossed the line of authority. You've always known that the way the world was working didn't quite fit with who you were. And now you get to show the world what you were talking about, what you meant by that. And when you talk, they're not going to see crazy anymore. Have you noticed? Have you noticed the world waking up? That you cannot go anywhere anymore without having some sort of spiritual conversation. Regardless if it's the most closed-minded bigot on the planet, there is some level of being inside of that person who is awake, and you will be able to find, as an empath, where that is, and you will be able to communicate to that person. I've been really pushing my students to get out there, make your videos, make your podcasts, tell your stories, do your healing work. Be the messenger you came to be. That's the only thing that's going to feed your soul. Nothing that you can buy will ever feed you in the way that helping someone else through knowledge, wisdom, experience will. This is our harvest. This is what we have become. And as the becoming unfolds, this may be difficult for you for the rest of the year if you're still holding on to false concepts of security. If you're holding on to old paradigm, if you're holding on to judgment, if you're holding on to right and wrong and rules, then the rest of this year will be a gift for you, by you, to show you exactly what you need to be more aware of. Because there is no right and wrong. We need the contrast in order to understand the truest desires. Desire expands the universe. Without desire, we don't expand, we don't become, we don't ascend. We need the shadow. Think about your last heartbreak. What did you learn? What was birthed from that? I can guarantee you got a piece of yourself back from that, didn't you? You didn't give yourself away like you thought you would. You actually got a piece of yourself back. The very thing that we think is going to destroy us, the very reason we settle, the very reason we make choices out of fear is because we don't want to feel that heartbreak. And what happens anyways? Even the people you think could never break your heart end up breaking your heart to test you and teach you that you are unbreakable. You are completely unbreakable, and you are so much stronger than you thought you were. This year is proving to you how strong you've had to be. Maybe you've had to be alone. Maybe you've had to get comfortable being alone. Maybe you want to be alone. But this month is all about choice. Choice is your harvest. You are wise enough now. See the difference between knowledge and wisdom? For a long time, you all have been very knowledgeable. You read the books, you've taken the workshops, you've taken the classes, you know the lingo, you can speak the nomenclature, you understand the verbiage of the spiritual journey. But wisdom is created through behavior and actions and life experience. We are all becoming wise through our life experiences. All the things that we've been teaching, we have actually had to go through. We've gone through the heartbreak, we've gone through the loss, but we've done it from a place of awareness where we actually understand why it's happening versus being on the other side of that victim energy and saying, why is this happening? We understand. And maybe we don't understand in the moment, but when we take stock and we really view what's going on, we always understand the purpose of the lesson, the purpose of the catalyst, the purpose of the destruction that needed to be the inspiration of the rebirth. So this is where we are for October. The rest of the year will be a little bit more of the same, but what this vibration is bringing is peace. I hope that all of you feel a little bit of peace right now, no matter what is going on, because circumstances don't matter. Circumstances is old energy burning off. The game must be rebooted and redesigned, and as that's happening, everything must let go. Things purge, things come to light, darkness comes to light. And the thing about this particular country, the United States where I am, is we are the fishbowl. We are the vibrational, trashy reality show of the planet. And we are loud and everything is filmed and we're all opinionated and we're a melting pot. So what we do in this country reflects all of the shadows of the rest of the planet, where some people don't have a voice or a choice. But we do in this country. And we are literally exposing all of our lies and untruth and false belief systems and old programming. And as these beliefs being the lie, belief being the lie, as these things come to light, we realize how silly they are. We look at our presidency, we look at our government, and we laugh. For the first time, we say, okay, this is actually a joke. Well, guess what? It's always been a joke. The intentions were pure, but it's always been a joke. Because you're here to govern yourself. It's just us. The justice that you're seeking, for the person that you're mad at, you need to look in the mirror. Because it is a reflection of your darkest, most unaware part of yourself. The person that you are at odds with is you. The war that is being fought on the planet is you. Your dark against your light, unaccepted, unaware, projected out for you to see with your physical third dimensional eyes. And so as you start to realize that there's just a war in here, you start to heal this, and this heals this. As we heal this part of ourselves, it has a collective ricochet. It has a collective boomerang. It has a collective experience that goes out and heals. And so first the hero needs to be you. You need to be the hero of your own story. And then as you don't need a hero of your own story, now you're confident enough to go be the hero for this world. This is what you've been prepping for. This is why you've attracted so many harsh, karmic, soul contractor relationships that pulled you down deep into the dark. This is why. So you would have that ascension process in real time in this incarnation of what that feels like to be all the way taken down and then move all the way out of it through choice, behavior, understanding, acceptance, and self-love. Self-love is the only way to ascend. You cannot love your neighbor enough to set yourself free from your own shadow. You can love your neighbor and find yourself in that neighbor and bring that behavior back into yourself and understand yourself more, which is another way of becoming aware. It doesn't really matter how you get there. It just matters that you're going. And fortunately for us, every time devastation happens, more empaths are awakened. And as that brings us peace, because we're not holding the planet and saying, remember who you are, your love, your unconditional love. Now we've got millions of people leaving their jobs, taking money out of their bank accounts, getting food from their freezers, and driving 6 hours to go take care of a family they've never met. If that's not a light worker, I don't know what is. So as we birth light workers from chaos and destruction, we become equal points of awareness, which creates unity. The reason there isn't unity is because there's so many different collective belief systems. And when belief systems bump heads, right, it triggers knowing yourself. When someone challenges your belief system, they are challenging your identification of who you are. And that's why you move into defense. What if you didn't have to worry about that being challenged? What if you were a completely open book and all there was underneath was love? Love and remembering love. That is what the harvest is all about. And it is about basically understanding that your shadow has been the most important part of your entire journey. Because you already know you're light. You came in as light. But you did not come in understanding the parts of you that were unawakened. I said something in class, and it was very profound, even for myself, where I echoed it back and was like, And I said, when you need someone to awaken, or when you judge someone's unawareness, what's actually happening is the place inside of you that is unaware is looking at them. Because only someone unaware could judge someone's unawareness. Only someone asleep could judge someone asleep. Because if you were fully enlightened and you saw someone who was still in a slumber, all you would see was God. All you would see was love. All you would see was a cry for love. You wouldn't be angry at the person who wasn't awakening in front of you. Because the part of you that's seeing them is the unawakened part of you. To me, that was profound, because that gives me insight on how I can find the places inside of myself that are still unawakened. If I need the world to wake up, then the part of me that needs that is still asleep. Does that make sense? So, here we are, October. This year has gone by hella fast. It's been very crazy. It will continue. And like I teach in class, the storms will continue to come until we hit a breaking point and a balance point for the zero energy to recreate the planet, which means that we need a certain number of hearts, opened, active, and empaths, being a service on the planet to shift the tides so that we can start building instead of destroying. We will destroy until we hit the breaking point, and then we will begin to rebuild, which we already have. One of the things that I've urged all of my students and colleagues to do is, no matter what you're seeing in the news, For every negative story that you hear out loud, go share 3 positive stories. Go use social media as your platform for not pointing your finger and saying that's wrong, but saying this is another way to look at it. This is what's right. These are the deaths, but these are the births. These are the people who have chosen to commit suicide, but these are the millions of people who have decided to have babies in all of this chaos. So with every death, there is a birth, and we want to look at what we have as far as our one freedom point. Freedom has nothing to do with money. Freedom is choice, and you have it. And the way that we have moved into a place of understanding that there is no one that is your guru, there is no one that is idealistic above you, there is no one telling you what to do anymore. You have got those choices free to make, which means you don't have to have a choice and then make sure that choice is okay with your government and your teachers and your politicians. Because you've come to an understanding where you don't trust that. You don't trust that codependency anymore because they haven't had your best interest in mind. They've had their interest in mind, and you're remembering that. You're putting yourself back together, and it takes huge amounts of confidence for you to be okay in your own courage and your own power and say, this isn't working. Not doing it from a place of fear, but doing it from a place of understanding. And then you look at the history books and you say, this has never worked. And this isn't true. And that's not true. And I don't believe that anymore. And I don't have to do that anymore. And I don't have to be this anymore. This is what this year is bringing us. Is everyone feeling that? In some way, somehow, you are on the perfect journey for you. This is not about comparison. Don't judge the person next to you. Because when you do that, the unawakened part of you is judging that. Because you chose these coordinates, this path, this trail, all these opportunities, this karmic resolve, your ascension process long before you came into this body. So, do we have any questions?
Lynn asked, how do you feel freedom if you feel this year has put you in a situation of a tighter budget than ever as a caregiver?
How do you feel freedom?
Mm-hmm.
Freedom does not come from third dimensional opportunities. Okay? Third dimensional opportunities, and when I say third dimension, what I'm actually talking about is circumstances that you have created vibrationally. Freedom comes from knowing that you are more than a caretaker, that you are more than the money that's in your bank account, that you have a call and an urge and a mission inside of you. And maybe the reason why everything is constricted is because the universe is trying to get your attention and saying, this isn't really who you are. You're not someone who struggles with money. You're not someone who is just on the planet to be a caretaker. It's forcing her into self-love. It's forcing Lynn into self-love because what she's having to do is she's having to find the freedom inside of herself to love herself regardless of what is happening to you. It's not what's happening. It's what could happen. It's who you could be if you got a different job, if you won the lottery, if you look at possibilities, because quantum is about looking at possibilities and seeing unlimited potential. That's freedom. You cannot get freedom by looking at circumstances because circumstances are basically particles that have formed a reality. Stagnant. They're not malleable. If you're going to find your freedom, you actually have to go into non-physical reality, into the quantum field of potential, and ask that field, who am I really? Because when you go down into 3D, you go, oh, this is who I am. That doesn't feel good. So you actually have to find the freedom that is outside of third dimension, and you need to go into this place of non-physical reality, where your imagination resides, where your visions resides, where your gut resides, where your calls resides, where your heart lives, and find your freedom there, and then ask, what would it look like if I had more opportunities? Because if this was just created from non-physical in the first place, we have to go into the non-physical in order to create new circumstances. I can't bend and cut and chop my circumstances and make new circumstances. That's called solving a problem with a problem because it's not malleable. We have to understand that we are half physical and half non-physical beings. And the non-physical space is where we need to find our freedom because we will never find our freedom in physical reality. Ever. There's always going to be walls. There's always going to be locks. There's always going to be lack. There's always going to be tension. There's always going to be judgment. You have to go to the place outside of that where your child resides, where your child learns to manipulate energy to get what she wants, where your child doesn't take no for an answer. Your child still lives in non-physical reality, and in class we've been working with our inner child a lot lately because healing the inner child will give you that freedom back. So hopefully that answered your question. Any more?
I have a question.
Yes.
In one of this week's classes, you mentioned, someone asked about the symbology behind 9/11, and you said you would talk about it.
The symbology around 9/11?
Yeah.
So,
Another one online when you're done.
okay, so I'm not going to get into the politics of 9/11, but I will discuss it in our closed group. As far as the symbolic reason for 9/11 was a great catalyst of heart opening. The heart center has been closed down for a really long time in these human bodies, to the point where we have been governed by power. And what 9/11 gave, it gave the heart opening that we needed for 2012 to even be able to manifest. Without 9/11, 2012 couldn't have happened. Because what it did was it had the opposite effect. Instead of scaring us all into submission, we all came together. We found strength in the weaknesses. We found courage in the fires. And you know what? It had nothing to do with terrorism. It had to do with us. It was our first grand moment of just us. And we are the ones who went and saved everyone who needed to be saved. It was those first responders. It was your sister and your brother and your mother and your uncle who showed up for these people. And if you weren't there personally, your heart was there, guaranteed. And that's what it did. It was a catalyst point, like a tipping of the scales, because 2012 could not have happened if enough heart centers weren't open. And I will tell you, before that, no matter if you were born an empath, born a messenger, born an indigo, born a starseed, it was very difficult for you to open a heart that wasn't loving you back. So again, it's the 100 monkey effect. When we get enough heart openings, then what it does is collectively it sends this wave out and it opens everyone's heart. So we need these moments that happen in order to create this ripple effect. And we will have as many moments like that as we need to until the scales are tipped. Right now, the planet is awakening, and it's about 70%. I don't mean enlightened. I mean people, 70% of this planet right now is questioning. Questioning their belief systems, questioning their programs. 50% of the population is doing something about it. So it's just a matter of time until everything gets really quiet again and we can go through our spring process. And so what this winter is going to be about is it's just integrating all of these catalyst points from the last basically 60 years. Okay?
Billy Joe says, I can't seem to get out of grief and sadness. It's been about 2 weeks. How can I get past this feeling and start feeling joy and peace again?
Okay, so the very premise of needing to not be griefy will keep her in grief. What you resist, you get. How about sitting, Billy, and saying, I love and accept the sadness. And let it actually just pour out of you. Be with the sadness. Acceptance. Without acceptance, it's going to linger. It's going to pull. It's going to stay a shadow. Whatever you push down and don't want to feel, you're going to feel. Because we are moving into 5D manifestation, the fast track of manifestation. So whatever you're resisting, you're going to get more of. So, and this is something that I went through this year. At some point, I just had to sit in it and say, I totally accept this heartbreak. I totally accept this loss. I totally accept this. And you let it be with you, because the beauty of emotion is it just wants to come in and out. It doesn't want to stay part of who you are. It's not there to make or break your personality. It is just something that you have been stuffing down because you haven't wanted to feel it. So this year, if you've noticed that everything you've been repressing for the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you've had to feel at some point this year. Because the emotion, as we turn from carbon to crystalline, we cannot hold anything in our energy fields that's not pure. So those manifestations, if I've got grief sitting in my solar plexus that I have buried deep and locked up and put cement blocks around, and I'm starting to go through my ascension process, I'm going to manifest a new grief relationship or something that's going to pull on me to open that wall up and feel those feelings, whether it be a song, whether it be a movie, whether it be a loss, whether it be a tragedy, whether it be something you witnessed. You will manifest something that will trigger that stored, dense emotion inside of your body so that you can have that release. So 2017 is all about the purge. It's all about the release. And so we're manifesting everything and anything that could possibly pull those dark, deep shadows out. And when they come up, that's where you bring love. That's where you become the light worker of your own soul and your own shadow, and you sit with it and you love it and you hold space with it and you talk to it and you talk to your inner child and you heal and you let it be there. And then you share how you did that with other people, because there's people that are afraid of their own fear and afraid of their own pain, and they're manifesting things over and over and again in a pattern-like way because their soul is saying, it's time for you to feel this. I don't want to have you lose this child. I don't want you to have to lose this, but this is the only way that you're going to bring that shadow into light and fully express the pain that you've been carrying for how many lifetimes. So what she needs to do is just be with it as the loving light worker that she would be for her best friend or for her child or for the world. She needs to be there for that grief. And when she's fully there, acceptance is transcendence. As soon as you accept something completely without judgment, it disappears from your whole energy field. It's no longer in response with law of attraction, because law of attraction only responds to positive and negative charge. If there is a neutral point, law of attraction cannot respond because there is no charge. So she has to let it move all the way up and out until it becomes a neutral point. It's a 0 point. Law of attraction stops responding to it, and she is free to be who she chooses to be as far as peace and love and joy, because that's what's underneath. Okay? Anything else? All right, so as we move into the rest of October and the beginning of November, it's very important, and I teach this a lot in Tika, the difference between taking score and taking stock. When you take score, you will always be disappointed. You will always be disappointed in yourself. You will always be disappointed in what you were able to create. You will always, always be disappointed. But when you take stock, what you're doing is you're looking at what you have to work with. You're looking at what you've become. You see the difference in frequencies of that. So even if just in October you made the conscious choice to move from a personality or an ego construct that's constantly taking score of what you don't have and do have, and you shift into a being that is just taking stock, then what happens is you can create beautiful art and magic with what you have right in front of you. But if you have the perspective of you're constantly taking score, you'll always be in comparison and judgment. You will always feel like you don't have enough. And as you move into that new perspective of taking stock, then moving into the next month, gratitude will be your natural expression, because believe it or not, what you've survived through, you're holding more dearly than all of the abundance that you had maybe this time last year. Everything's been washed away except the things that you really are. The things that are really true to you. The things that really are a reflection of your heart center are going to be what's left after these storms pass. And you're going to have so much gratitude for those things, because basically we've been taking everything for granted. You know, and as we've done that, we still continue to take score. I'm not where I want to be. I don't have what I want to have. I don't have the love that I want to have. I don't have. That's taking score. As soon as you take score, you drop from a frequency of love into fear, because that isn't true. Your true state of being is always gratitude. Think about someone who maybe had a 6,000 square foot house fully furnished, 2 cars in the driveway, kids everywhere, right? And they were happy. Now imagine that the hurricane came and ripped that entire house apart. What do you think that they would be grateful for surviving? What items of that house, or items at all, would they actually care afterwards? I can guarantee you they're going to be happy they got their kids. And if they got their kids, they might be happy they have their pictures. And if they have their pictures, they might be happy that they have something. But that is going to be the only thing that's important, and that's what the universe is doing. It's ripping through your fields. It's causing the hurricane of your life, and when the storms pass, you're looking at what you actually needed. Because we have built our civilization in consumption. And with consumption, we lose gratitude. And when we lose gratitude, it's never enough. We're never enough. We're not worthy enough. Just surviving a hurricane, do you know how worthy you'd feel? Rescuing people? So the universe is teaching you these lessons in your own paradigm, which means the reality that Kara is having versus I am having could not be more night and day, but we are learning the exact same lessons of how to take stock and how to only have things around us that are a direct reflection of our heart center, not our ego power center of what we feel we could be worthy with if we had more. That's what this year is going to teach you. And if you can look at it as a welcome and a thank you and a participant in that journey, it will be smooth sailing. You will experience love without conditions. You will experience heaven on earth, but you've got to first and foremost accept what's lingering. If there's something that won't go away, there's a reason why it won't go away. There's a message, there's a lesson, there's a purpose for you to keep feeling that. This is where you say, I welcome you. I welcome this loss. I welcome this pain. I welcome this fear. I sit with it. If I don't trust myself to sit with it, I find someone who is a direct reflection of someone who can. And they will sit with me in the dark while I expose myself to myself and heal myself through myself. And this is who you are. And as we do that, then we can show the way for other people. And November should be the month of gratitude. So I will leave you at that if there's no more questions. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. If any of this resonated with you, please find me on Facebook. It's Jessica Alstrom Quantum Life. We've got several different groups. We've got a forum that is a free community for you to be able to just hear short interactions with me. And then I have a more intense academy that I run on there that's called Quantum Life Tika. And that's TICA. And that is my advanced coaching forum where I deliver channeled messages and teachings pretty much all out throughout the week. And then we have a new a location called Jessica Alstrom Quantum Life Tribe. And this is for you guys to start practicing who you really are as a forum and a collective. This is the concept of practicing that unity collective. You know, you're getting on there, you're sharing your stories, you're sharing your videos, you're sharing your journeys, you're sharing your body of work. You're not getting on there and sharing Eckhart Tolle's greatest video. You're getting on there sharing your stories. You're the spiritual teacher in that forum because, again, this is a place of no judgment. So this is a great place for you to be able to practice your heroism with like-minded people around you that are going to help you accelerate and make you stronger by remembering and reminding you of who you are. So thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you all in class.